If you drive an EV, finding EV chargers is something that you normally do, maybe using your car's navigation or Google Maps or Apple Maps, but you can also use third-party apps. And the one we're going to talk about today is Chargeway. It is my absolute favorite. We're going to go over it, and I'm going to go through like a walkthrough, a demo, and show you all of the features. But before we even do that, we're going to meet Matt Teske, the Chargeway CEO and founder, to learn about why they made Chargeway the way that they did. I'm Patrick. Liv is downstairs working. We're actually at a friend's house, so that's why I have my little robot friend behind us. But we are the electric duo. We're going to learn all about Chargeway right now, so let's go. I'm excited for the interview with Matt Teske, but you may just want to be here just for the demo of Chargeway. If you want to skip ahead, I won't be offended. We'll put a link to the chapters down below so you can skip all the way to the demo, or you can just fast forward. Up to you, but right now we're going to jump into that interview. Okay, so we have a special treat. We have Matt Teske from Chargeway here, the founder of Chargeway, and I've known Matt for a few years. We've seen him at Fully Charged, several Electrify Expos, just running into each other at events. So I wanted to have Matt on today to sort of introduce Chargeway as well as the app. If you guys want, we're going to do a demo of the app, and I'm going to do that after the interview. So if you want to skip ahead, just check the chapter and you can skip ahead. But go ahead, Matt. Let's introduce you and Chargeway.
Yeah, well, Patrick, great to talk to you, and it's always great to get a chance to catch up and obviously talk about Chargeway and how we can help people enjoy their EVs more. So, yeah, quick backstory on me is I've been in the automotive world for over 25 years, and Chargeway was born out of my getting my first EV over 12 years ago because I screwed up a road trip. And so it was one of those moments of, what did I get wrong? And what I found was we really have to explain electricity as a fuel type in a way that is easy for everyone. And that means it's based on where you live, but most importantly, the car you select and how that matches up with charging that's away from home. If you don't have a home charger, for example, there's a lot people, you and I both know it, and you and Liv talk about it all the time about what people need to learn. And Chargeway is designed to do a lot of the thinking for people and make the visualization of using charging much easier.
Yeah, and that's something that we've talked about over and over. And there's a slew of apps, a couple of prominent ones for finding chargers. But we've recommended over and over a lot of times, Chargeway is really great. And there is a difference. There's like some of the EV nerds, they want a lot of they want to know who makes the charger. Is it Signet or ABB? Those are those types. But there are a lot of people out there that they get their EV and they just want simple. They just want to know, like, where can I charge? And they don't even care about speed, which this, that's one of the things that Chargeway even helps out with is like, from the very, very novice that doesn't even know the difference between 50 kilowatts and 350 kilowatts
right.
to everybody.
Well, I think you point out is that most people that are not the EV, again, nerds as a lot of us are, basically, they got into this a long time ago, is we wanted to dig in and learn everything and figure it all out. And we appreciate those details. But as you describe, a lot of people don't know what they don't know. So when they buy an EV, they don't realize a lot of the things that we all did our homework on, right? And we see it all the time where whether it's owners groups or something on social media where someone has an experience where they kind of have this shocking moment of, wait, I didn't know that's how this works. And so as that happens, it's important that we help new EV owners understand how they can navigate all of this so they have the best experience possible. And we hear quite often how the industry, whether it's automakers or dealers or even charging networks, aren't really providing information in a way that helps people know what it means for their own experience. And that's really what Chargeway does, is it's designed to say, you tell us what car you're driving, and we're going to do a lot of this thinking for you. And as you pointed out, most importantly, where can you connect? Where's my plug type? And I can visualize that. We use colors to do that in Chargeway. But the power that your car can request and the power the station offers you, it's going to dictate how long you got to sit there to wait and charge. And in some instances, it's 15 minutes at a fast charger. But then at other fast chargers, it might be 2 hours. You want to know that as a driver. And so that's what Chargeway does, is using the colors and simple number system, you can quickly begin to learn and see, oh, that's going to be a 15-minute fill up because that's a green 7. But if I'm at that green 4, that's more like an hour and a half. So maybe that's more like if I'm shopping or maybe even going to a movie. So these are things that are important that every EV driver is going to have at their fingertips. And that's what we wanted to make easy for people.
So you mentioned the colors. Now, that's the first part of the controversial thing is like, why are they using these colors? Let's just label it by the plug type. But you have green is, traditional CCS. Red is now, we won't say Tesla, it's NACS. And Tesla and NACS, we'll say.
I was going to say, technically it's both.
Yeah. And we can get into the way that's selected. And then, of course, blue is CHAdeMO. So it's pretty interesting to me that, like, that's controversial because, like, I love it because it's so nice now that we have the NACS adapter, which is very easy. It's like I can just, like, tap on the thing in Chargeway and say, like, I have a NACS adapter. Then all of a sudden it's like, okay, here's the red ones that you have access to. Yep. And it's just like a really easy way. As I'm looking like in the LA, San Diego area, I see all the green dots. I tap that. I have a NACS adapter. And all of a sudden these red dots show up, which very, very clearly shows me like those are the ones I need the adapter at. And I just love the beauty of it. And it makes it very easy to see the difference of where those networks are at.
Well, it gives you an understanding at a glance. And I think that's probably what's most important is a lot of the other interfaces that are used for EV charging mapping, and they've been around for a long time, they might allow you to change different plugs and then that'll dictate what happens on your map. But the map icons don't change. You then still have to go in and click on each one to go, what's at this thing? And so we wanted to give people, and we've had the adapter feature in Chargeway since the day we launched the app years ago. This is back in 2019. And that was because Tesla owners back then had adapters. And so we wanted to make sure that Tesla owners had the ability to do that immediately when we first launched Chargeway. But we knew over time, more than likely, this could convert into other cars needing this. And so, as you described, it's really about once you turn on the adapters and the map changes in a way that you can look at it and just quickly glance at something and go, well, if I go to that one, I know I got to use my adapter. If I go to that one, I don't, just by glancing. And to me, that's important for everybody.
Yeah, and I even love the fact that one of the most clear ways to show you need a fast charging NACS adapter, but you also need a Tesla destination adapter. Like it's two different settings. Yep. So it makes it very clear because we've had so many people that we've seen in the forums that go like, I took my NACS adapter to the hotel and tried to use their Tesla charger and it didn't work. Yeah. So I think that's part of, the overall thing that we need to do as a EV community is educate people on the differences. And I think that helps out, as well as the numbers. So let's explain the numbers. I mean, 1 is level 1, 2 is level 2, but then from there on up, it's basically, varying levels. And I don't even remember the levels because I sort of know it's like 6 is, like EA 150 kilowatts. Mm-hmm. 7 is like EA 350 kilowatts. Like I don't have to remember, but it makes it just very easy. And I don't have to, going back to the kilowatts thing is like, if I'm like on, one of the other apps and I'm like trying to drag it around and drag the slider and it's like, I'm literally going like 120 or 125.
Right.
And then I have to look at the map. And then it's like, here's the big disadvantage to them. Like you said, is like, if I say I'm going to filter out and I only want 125 kilowatts and above, well, now I have just a bunch of orange dots.
Right.
And I don't know which ones are the 150s and which ones are the 350s. But with Chargeway, it'll be a 6 and a 7.
Right. You said it perfectly. And what we found is that the industry for the longest time has referred, like you said, levels 1 and 2. We looked at that and said, don't change it. That makes sense. Mainly, it's how we know how to charge at home, and it works for everybody the same way at home. So levels 1 and 2 in Chargeway are the same that you might have known forever. In the sense, it's like level 1 is like plugging into a wall outlet. Level 2 is like plugging into an electric dryer outlet at home. So it's an upgraded charger for home. And there's tons of level 2s out there in the wild that you can use. We want people to quickly look at the map and go, that's kind of like a home charger. Okay, I get it. But once you get into fast charging, the industry kept calling all fast charging level 3. And it's an easy way to just kind of jump to the next number. But then we just started calling all fast charging level 3. And it just doesn't make sense as a driver. As you said, if you want to look at different speeds of chargers, there's a big difference at stopping at a 50 kilowatt fast charger compared to a 350 kilowatt fast charger. We're talking hours. And drivers will want to know that. So we thought, okay, well then how do we break down these ranges of power in a way that makes sense to everyday people? And the way that we broke out fast charging, it's levels 3 through 7 on the Chargeway map. So if you see anything level 3 through 7, that's a fast charger. But then you can get a sense for, well, a level 3 in Chargeway is more like a 25 kilowatt DC fast charger, which if you plugged your Mach-E into that, that's over 2 hours, maybe 4 hours to fully charge if you needed a full charge. Yes, that's faster than an 8-hour charge at home, but that's still hours. And as you go up in power level in Chargeway, level 4 is kind of like 50 kilowatt, level 5 is like 75 to 100, level 6 is like 150, level 7 is basically anything 250 to 350 in that ballpark, that we're really seeing more chargers in that range now. And so we've kind of grown into our level system. And frankly, as time passes, if we add higher power charging, 500 kilowatt, 600 kilowatt, we just add a new number to Chargeway. So you'll know, oh, that's one of those wildly powered stations. But as we discussed earlier, you need to know what your car can request. So if you see an 8 one day in Chargeway, or let's say right now you see a level 7 and you go, that's the fastest one, we always tell you at the bottom of the station map, what's the max number your car can request. And so for a Mach-E, for example, it's level 6. So it can't take full advantage of those level 7 chargers, but it can still use them. But there are other cars out there like the Ioniq 5 or the EV6 that really can take advantage of those level 7 chargers because they can charge faster than the Mach-E. And we can have that conversation using simple colors and numbers with everybody so they know, oh, that is, I get it now. There's differences without having to explain all the engineering.
Yeah, and I know, like, when we go in and we look at a station, especially like the EAs where they had the 150s and the 350s, it'll say recommended, and it'll recommend for us the Mach-E or our Equinox, one of the 350s. And I think that goes back to, the hated Chevy Bolt owners, which I'm like, why do you hate these people? Like, they bought their car, they want to charge, they want to get from point A to point B. Did you tell them which charging station they should use? Did their dealer, no one told them.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's great is, like, if they use the Chargeway app, they look at it and it was like, hey, use the 150, not the 350. Or by the way, or like an EV Go, use the 50, not the 150.
Yeah, I mean, the Bolt owners especially, and then we've got a ton of them in the market that are used, and the new Bolt that's coming out will have a native NACS or the red plug in Chargeway, built in, so that'll be helpful for them. We expect it will charge much faster. That's the hope. But this is part of the education of everybody, is electricity as a fuel type is variable in speed. And compared to gasoline, it's effectively the same speed every time. It's a liquid that you just pour in. So this is part of that educational process for everybody we talk to about what can charging be for the car you've chosen compared to maybe what other people are doing. And so it's just a simple way to help everyone navigate. And as you said, if a Bolt owner adds their car to Chargeway, they're going to see a level 4 next to their car at the bottom of the map, reminding them, your car, the most it can request is level 4. So if they're at an Electrify America station with 150 and 350 chargers in Chargeway, that'd be level 6 and level 7. It's just a reminder to them, just use the level 6. And it does tell you your estimated charge time in Chargeway based on those levels. So if you adjust your battery, a Bolt owner is going to look at those two different power levels and go, doesn't matter if I use the 6 or the 7, it's the same wait time. It's like, well, then use the 6, because someone might pull up with any other car that can charge faster. They would appreciate using the 7.
Yeah, we've gotten into these discussions a lot, even with the Mach-E, because technically, like, if we're going from like 10 to 80 on a 350, it may save us like 2 minutes.
Yeah, but that's it. It's like 2
minutes. But that's about it. Yeah. So, it's like nowadays, a lot of them are all 350, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I used to tell people, it's like, stick to the 150s. It may save you 2 minutes by using a 350, but you're blocking somebody that could save 15 minutes.
It's the charging etiquette thing we talk about.
Yeah, charging etiquette is huge, and that's something that I think is getting more and more important, especially now that the Tesla supercharger network is open. And I'll say it on here in this video, even though it's not necessarily relevant to Chargeway, but we try to stick to the right. We try to use the one on the end or whatever, because we may only use one supercharger station instead of two, or supercharger stall. We'll cover that in another video, but I want to say it over and over again. It's like, let's be nice to our fellow EV drivers. And it goes back into, like, if you do see a Chevy Bolt driver using the 350 when there's a whole bunch of 150s, don't post about them on X or Threads or whatever.
Don't shame them.
Yeah, just go over and go like, hey, did you know that you could go over here and charge. And I remember somebody had a conversation with a Bolt owner, and their dealer told them they had been upgraded so that they could use the 350. And it was like, yeah. And I'm like, yes, you can use the 350. It wasn't an upgrade, but it just, there's no benefit. But
well, and this is the chasing of kilowatts has become part of the problem, right? I mean, everyday people that are going and doing any, using any product or service, they want the best, right? So if you pull up at a station and there's options for 350 and 150 and you want to charge fast, you just perceive, I guess I'll just grab the highest one because that'll charge me faster. That's human nature. I get that. But that's the part where we've lacked the education to make it easy for people to navigate those options. And we've just been throwing kilowatts at people saying, yeah, kilowatts, max kilowatt, that's a good thing. But there's that nuance to what car are you driving. And I think that's the part that, again, we think we've solved that really well through Chargeway based on the car you choose and what you then see. But this is part where we have to appreciate as early adopters compared to mass market shoppers, the everyday shopper is not going to nerd out on the engineering like we all did.
Yeah.
They just want it to work in the way they know it's going to work best for them.
Yeah, and your philosophy sort of aligns with my philosophy when I talk to people about charging, because like we're in northern San Diego County. A weekend getaway for a lot of people is driving up to Vegas. We end up going up there because of CES and other conferences.
Sure.
It's about 300 miles. So it basically means we got to stop and charge one time. And we've done it in our Equinox, our Mach-E, and we've actually rented a Model Y and made that same trip. Every single one, it's like one charging stop. And it's, you know, we're going to stop and charge and get something to eat.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter if the car was ready in 15 minutes or 16 minutes or 30 minutes. It was like, we're stopping to charge and eat and we're good to go. So even though they have, you know, our Equinox has 319 miles of range, our Mach-E has 260, vastly different range, still one stop. And then of course, you know, the Model Y peaks at 250 kilowatts of charging. Our Mach-E is down at 150. One stop to charge. So that's something, you know, going back with Chargeway, I love that it's sort of like you have that the recommended charger, the estimated time that it's going to take, because then it starts making sense of like, okay, this is how long it's going to take, just very quick and easy, just at a glance. And going back to the numbers and colors thing, I think it's hilarious that like people want to criticize Chargeway, but then we also have the charging operators that have, we'll just say like ultra fast and hyper fast and supercharging. I'm like, these are all just made up marketing terms.
Yeah.
But a 7 is a 7. I can't tell you which one. I still cannot remember if hyper fast is faster than ultra fast.
Oh, for EA, I'm pretty sure.
I think it's hyper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but I can tell you that 7 is faster than 6. Right. I have no idea. Like, you know what I mean? It's like you don't have to know what 7 means, but 7 is faster than 6.
No, that you just hit the nail on the head for how we researched this was what is the simplest way we can identify these options that will work for everybody? Because one of the biggest challenges too is that even if you have a language barrier, you know, in California, if you're talking to someone, you know, who speaks Spanish and you try to explain the difference between hyper and ultra and super and rapid and whatever, they're just going to look at you and go, rapido, 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 rapido. You know, they're like, can you do that differently? And that was one of the first compliments we had on the system was there was someone who was working in California who said, I've been trying to figure out how to explain these differences. And then I started trying to do it via kilowatt. But because kilowatt is a moving target, I then had people contacting me saying, you told me it would be this at this charger, but then I only got this power level. So is my car broken? Is the charger broken? And then they said, then I had to explain what their car could do compared to the charger. So they were really complimentary in saying, didn't matter if I was talking to somebody in English or Spanish or anything, I could explain using color and number. And as you described, it's like they understood quickly, 7 is better than 6, and my car can request up to 6. So that means if I'm at a 5, it's going to take longer. But if I'm at 6, that's my sweet spot.
Yep.
Okay. And that is what we want. If we're going to accelerate EV adoption, and I think what we're seeing in the marketplace too right now, just today, Acura announced that they're basically canceling the ZDX.
Yeah.
And I saw that and I just went, no. And the big thing that I think this points to is that, and what we've been advocating for a long time, is if we don't help people understand how to use electricity as fuel in a way that they can understand it quickly and trust it, we can't get them to rush into dealerships to buy cars that run on electricity. they won't do it. And the early adopters, we all did our homework, but we have to appreciate that to get more people into EVs, we got to make it more approachable, and we really think that Chargeway is the way forward on that.
So on that note, like some things that our viewers can help out with is something that I love doing is every time I charge, I check in on Chargeway and try to add a photo and a station review.
Yeah.
And I think that's so helpful, and I hope that our viewers out there are getting into that habit. Photos are just so helpful because, you know, you get to show off what the station, where, you know, like what it looks like, especially like the nighttime photos. I love those because you can sort of see like
the stations are lit up and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And then sometimes it just helps knowing like, oh, I can see it's on the backside of the hotel or whatever. But the reviews I think are also great. So it's like we can like let people know like, yeah, it's actually is, you know, in good relation to the freeway or has good amenities. So I hopefully people are taking our lead and adding more and more photos because I think it's so helpful and it goes in, you know, hand in hand with like walking over to the Bolt driver and just having a conversation with them and not to pick on a Bolt because I love the Bolt and we tried to buy one.
My wife and I had a Bolt and we loved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, I think, you know, let's go back to like, this is a community. Let's all help each other.
Yeah. I think you bring up a good point. And again, people leave reviews in Chargeway all the time. And I think that early adopters that have been using other platforms for years, they had to rely on that feedback from people to say, what's happening here? Because there wasn't a lot of good information about chargers for a long time. And that's the people got conditioned to thinking, I can't rely on data. I have to rely on something that somebody said. And certainly that is helpful. And we get reviews all the time in Chargeway. The most important thing now, though, I think is to consider is we have improved charging infrastructure and we have improved the quality of the hardware and how the software communicates. We have improved these things. And the cool thing about Chargeway is it is of any platform out there that you use to find EV charging, we have the most real-time status for public charging of any platform. That includes Tesla Superchargers, Electrify America, EVgo, Shell, Blink, ChargePoint, Flow. Go down a list of a lot of these major networks, and Chargeway has live status for all of those. And that's really important because if you don't have that, then you do have to kind of default back to, what did someone say recently? But in reality, a lot of these stations have improved so much on their uptime and on the quantity of chargers. It's not one fast charger at a location, it's maybe 8 or 12. And so that's something I think is important to kind of as we've evolved as an industry and as drivers. Chargeway's meeting people at that new moment where we have a lot of good information, and Chargeway as a platform has the most information as it relates to real-time status. And we've worked hard to make sure that it's very easy to see, not with just our color number system, but also what is online and available that I can rely on. You can tap on that inside of Chargeway where it shows you the power level and the plug color. And if it says 11 out of 16 chargers available, you can tap that to see which chargers are in use online or offline very clearly. And we've worked really hard to make that very transparent. And I think that's something that a lot of drivers will enjoy.
It's something that you just mentioned, but it's like it's something that I really love about it, and one of the reasons why I go back, because like when we're on a road trip and we're pulling into a city and need to find a charger, and it's like it is very helpful, especially for us pulling into like a Tesla supercharger. If it has 8 stalls, if 4 of 8 are in use, we could potentially not be able to charge if they're spaced out.
Right. It shows the spaces. Yeah, exactly.
So it's sort of like it's really nice. We're like 5 miles out and it's like, okay, 2 of 8 are in use. I feel confident that I'm going to be able to charge there. And I'm lucky. I have a co-pilot, Liv, helping me, checking it out, which goes back again. It's like, seeing the feedback, being able to go like, oh, this one has good reviews, look at the photo. It looks like it's on the backside. All of that stuff helps. And the live data is super helpful. One area that I haven't done a lot with Chargeway, but I have occasionally poked my head in, is the trip planning. And you guys do have a trip planner. And it's basically sort of the same thing. It's like, let's make this super simple and easy. And I really like the way that you handle it. And I'll just say right up front, like my only difficulty, and I'll let you dive into it, is it's like, what is your expected average speed? So like I'm going from here to Vegas, and I'm like, I don't know like what I want to set as average speed, because going up the speed limit's 65, but then it changes to 70, but then there's going to be traffic. But But I think that's sort of like a good, easy way of like knowing what you're going to be doing. And you can actually even adjust the weather. So like if I know like I'm leaving tomorrow morning and it's going to be freezing, but it's not because it's California, I can actually adjust that as well. So I like that it's just like, it's all very easy settings. And it's not, it's just basically making very conservative, like, and accurate, conservative but accurate, if that makes sense, predictions.
No, the last part you said is really important to how we wanted to build it, which was we want it to be accurate, and so we have a lot of real world data we built the trip planner off of. But that conservative factor is important, which is there's people out there that'll drive down to 1%, and they're just kind of like, I've done this 1,000 times, I'm fine. A lot of people getting into this, even though we can visualize and show them there's a charger there, there's 16 of them. 10 are available, and it's going to get you on the road again in maybe 20 minutes, they still don't want to just show up with 1% because they got to learn how to be comfortable with some of these things. So in that respect, the trip planner is designed to be very simplified in the way of where do you want to start from, where do you want to go. You can add midpoints along the way. You can turn it into a round trip just by hitting a switch to say it's a round trip.
That's huge. Yeah, a lot of people don't think about that part because I've seen people that go, I'm going up to Big Bear or whatever, and there's not many chargers up there. And then they get up there and they're like, I need to get back home, which luckily it's downhill. So they usually have some range. But round trip is like, it's just like, it's such a no-brainer to put in. And I'm glad you guys did that.
Well, we got a lot of feedback. Again, we've had the trip planner in Chargeway for years, and we built it with the intent of having it be very simple. And to be honest, I think what we also looked at was we needed to build and be prepared for where the industry was going to grow to. And a lot of the products and platforms that have been out there for a long time, it required a lot of just little tiny details to make sure you could fully figure things out. And we knew that over time, as infrastructure filled in, as we had more chargers along highways and in rural areas, that the trip planner didn't necessarily need to be something where you had to set 17 things. It was really more about where you starting from, where you're going. But to your point earlier, the factors of temperature outside, and then also what's the speed you're driving, those are the two factors that really do impact your range. And so you can set those very clearly inside of Chargeway along with your starting battery range. And once you've done that, it automatically updates your real world maximum range based on those settings. It'll tell you. And so that is with the intent of showing someone. We just the other day on an owners group, someone said, I'm driving from San Francisco to somewhere in the middle of Washington. And they said, I'm planning on stopping at these two charging stations that I found. And I think I'll be fine. And I looked at it, and based on the car they had, and I looked at it and I went, well, they probably just said to themselves, my car gets whatever the EPA range is, and I'm just going to stop at those. And I put it into Chargeway, and I reshared it back to them. I said, based on temperature and speed, this is probably a more realistic experience that you're going to have. And it wasn't the two chargers that they had looked at. It was actually 3 or 4 along the way based on elevation changes, temperature, speed, etc. So we wanted to give people the ability to plug in the things that are simple. Hey, like you said, it's going to be 50 degrees tomorrow morning when I leave. Do that. And I'm going to drive, on average, probably about 70, 75 miles an hour. That's going to give you a very realistic experience for what you'll encounter on that trip. And then it suggests your stops. To your point, it recommends power levels at stations that have multiple power levels. So you're not choosing the wrong power level based on the car you're driving. And so it really is meant to do a lot of that thinking for you, but make it so approachable that when someone sees it and does it, and then they go and test it, they can say, that was accurate. And that's the thing, is we are almost always 90 to 95% accurate, if not higher. And there's little things that can happen along the way, like traffic and other things, but that just extends your range. It doesn't deplete your range if you get stuck in traffic. So
yeah, I think it's really slick. And for me, what I really like about it is when I am looking at those trips of like, hey, I got to go to the Bay Area for Electrify Expo San Francisco, that it's sort of like, it's just a very quick and easy way that I can like, just let me plug in my numbers. Let me sort of see what it looks like. And then, oftentimes like I actually hop in the car and I'm like, okay, now I'll let the car do it. But when I'm like sitting there at home on the couch, it's a great way of just sort of like testing out routes and going like, oh yeah, we're more than okay going this route. And as you said, it's like, and this is something that we say over and over is like charging is only going to get better from here on out.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be like, I'm right now it's like, is there a charging station at that exit? I'm looking forward to the day where it's like, well, this charging station is next to McDonald's. This one's next to Kentucky Fried Chicken. I feel like chicken, so I'm going to use that charging station so I don't have to cross the road. And I, when I was a kid, I remember, like traveling with my mom and dad, we'd pull off and we'd go to the gas station that was next to McDonald's versus Burger King because that's what we wanted. And we're going to get there. It's like we're still early days, but I know it's getting more and more common. There's more, network expansion coming, even with all the changes in the EV ecosystem that we don't need to dive into. It is going to get better, and I love just being able to like look at a route quickly and simply with Chargeway and just sort of see. And then it goes back as well as like, again, it's sort of really nice to be able to flip on and off, like with my Tesla adapter, without my Tesla adapter. And then when I get to the area that I'm going to be in, like we went to the Bay Area, and I'm like, okay, well now I'm here. I can change that slider because I was only looking at 6 or 7s. Now let me like go down. I may be okay with a 4 or a 5. Yeah. And again, it's like I don't need to remember like, is that 100 kilowatts or right? Like let me just slide it down. Like okay, like a 4. Oh, okay, it says 45 minutes to charge using a 5. So it's sort of like overall the simplicity. I think you guys have like hit a home run with Chargeway. Really simple to use. I know when we first got the Tesla adapter, you guys were like the first that was able to very easily integrate that in. But then even above that, it's such a great way even now to be able to show people like, okay, here we are in the San Diego area. This is what you get access to when you have the adapter. Because it's also like the other part is like trying to argue with people, not argue, but convince people like, yeah, you should probably buy the adapter. If they haven't got a free one, it's like it's a $200 outlay, and then it's just like, well, this is what it gets you when you spend $200, and they're like, oh wow, that's a lot of extra charge.
It's a nice little safety net, right? And that's to your point about earlier about someone who buys a certain adapter and then they just decide to go to a hotel and just it fits. I mean, this could be, maybe it works, That's one thing that even, for example, in Chargeway, whatever car you've added, and let's say it's a Mach-E or an F-150 Lightning, for example, is inside the vehicle screen, we have a promos section. If you tap promos, it's always something related to your car or your geographic area. We don't just advertise for advertising's sake. We want to put information in front of users that it's like, oh, that's actually a benefit to my ownership experience. And so the adapters that you have available for your car, we list them in the promos section. We partner with A2Z for their adapters, and they are listed inside of promos, but we identify the color and power level that you can use with that adapter. So when you're looking at the different ones you can purchase, it actually says this is a Red 2 adapter if you're going to go use a Tesla destination charger. But hey, this is a Red Level 7 adapter. This is really for those Tesla superchargers. But we visualize that the same way in that section as you will see on the map. And these are little things that are just, you have to be thoughtful around that, because if you leave it to guesswork, we have, like you said, people that will have bad experiences, and that will then tarnish their opinion of EVs. They might tell people, yeah, I did this and it was bad. Everything we can do to mitigate those types of moments happening is a big part of what we want to solve through what we're building at Chargeway.
And we'll just say we love A2Z. That's our favorite of the adapters that we've tested. And I'll just go ahead right now and go like A2Z or Lectron. Nobody else right now. Amphenol, if they ever get theirs released, because I feel like it's important enough to mention that just don't buy the cheapest adapter on Amazon.
That's how often do you see that on owners groups where someone will actually have already bought it, and then they'll take a screen grab and say, hey, I just bought this one. Does anybody use it? And it might even have some decent reviews on Amazon. This is another factor of where people get access to these products. That are they getting the best information? And to your point, A2Z and Lectron have really proven out that they have really solid products. You can really rely on them, but you don't want to grab the one that just happened to be $50 cheaper, because you might find yourself in a situation where it fails or doesn't work right. So you just, as an owner, you have to be thoughtful of these things. And this is, a moment in time for EV ownership where adapters will be a part of the product ownership for EVs for easily another 10 plus years, because these cars that are in market that have different plugs, they're going to have to be able to use these different stations. So it's a part of where we're at, but over time, will it improve because things will all transition to the red plug, the NACS plug, as we call it? Yeah, that'll be better. It's a simple design. It's elegant. It's the same you'll use at home as away from home. So that's great. But in the interim, you just have to be able to navigate these differences, but without it having to be too complicated. And that's a big part of what we wanted to make sure people would use Chargeway for, is to say, this wasn't hard. I knew exactly which adapter I needed, and it was clear based on the system that Chargeway built. So,
yeah, you guys have included a lot of great stuff. I love that you have the promo section and promoting a good adapter. So
Yep.
that's awesome. Speaks highly of you and A2Z. But overall, again, great app. I hope more people use it. We constantly use it. We always are trying to remember to check in every single time and adding more photos. Even if we've added a photo previously, we like adding new photos because different time of
Well,
day.
things change. You know, they might have
Yeah.
upgraded the hardware at the charger. You know, the
Yeah.
little things like that is, or a restaurant got built next door, you know, or something. And that's one thing inside of the system that we did for Chargeways. Any station that we show you when you click onto the station information is we do list amenities that are nearby, and we list the feet away the amenity is from the station. So to your point, if you're on a road trip or if you're just looking for charging around you, you can always tap amenities to then say to yourself, all right, if I got to have an option between these three, what's nearby? It's like, I really want, like you said, McDonald's or something else. That's listed directly in each station. So these are little things about how drivers and just people think that we wanted to make sure was really easy to see inside of Chargeway.
There's so many little features. We could talk for hours about this, but I think what we'll do is we'll let you go and then we'll continue the video and we'll do a demo and just sort of go through step by step and just sort of show everybody. It can be just as simple as like, just bring it up, put your car in and that's enough. But there are a lot of extra features and we'll try to dive into all of those. But,
Awesome.
but thank you so much for joining us, and best of luck with everything that Chargeway is doing and all the new features. We didn't even get into some of the. Actually, let's finish on this. You guys are also working with dealerships, because that's something that us EV nerds are always having an issue with. Is like dealerships aren't necessarily educating the new EV owners out there, but you guys are helping with that, basically providing sort of like a Chargeway kiosk to help out dealers and training.
Yeah, we call it the Chargeway Beacon, and it's basically a gigantic version of a smartphone, but it's the exact same interface that you have in the Chargeway mobile app. It's inside this kiosk, and the kiosk itself has a lot of other features to it, which includes things like comparing fuel costs for electricity versus gasoline in the zip code where the utility is. So based on the car you're looking at, you can see how much you would save charging at home compared to going and buying gas to drive the same distance.
That's so
Little
cool.
things like that. And so it's really meant to help dealers have a lot of what we've discussed. They have to have the ability to turn around and explain with confidence to anybody who's shopping for an EV, this is how our EVs work, and it's not complicated. Like our EVs here at Volkswagen, they go to green stations. Higher number means faster charging. Let me show you how it works. And that's a much easier way to give dealers the ability to have a lot more credibility and just information that is necessary to sell an EV, to give drivers the right tools to go have a great experience. And so we've had a lot of success working with electric utility companies around the United States who have partnered with us to deploy our Chargeway kiosk, the Beacon, at multiple dealerships in multiple states around the country. And it really has proven to be very effective at answering not the questions about the car, but about this new fuel experience that all these automakers need to translate. So it's been really fun. And so, but again, that's more of a business side of the discussion of what Chargeway does, but it's really designed to be kind of at that top of that research and sales experience, but it gives people that consistent language about how charging works all the way through, so that when they have the Chargeway app, they can say, this is great. I've had this from day one from my dealer, and it was really helpful.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, best of luck on that side, because like we all have our frustrations like with dealers and not doing the training, but it's sort of like the same thing as like we can't expect every single salesman at a dealer to have experience with EVs. I would love that, but it's just not realistic. Yeah. And this helps bridge that gap. So I think that, kudos to you guys for looking at that and helping it versus just complaining about it on whatever social media platform.
Yeah, we're trying to help. I mean, and at the end of the day, I'm an EV driver. I've owned EVs since 2013. My wife and I have had multiple EVs over the years. Chargeway is Chargeway because I care about this topic. I want more people driving EVs. They're obviously all the benefits that come along with it are there that those of us who have driven them know, but we have to do everything we can to make it easy for people to fall in love with these cars. And from all the work that we've done and all the research I've done, it is more about that fueling trust and the fuel of electricity than it is just about the electric car existing. And so we think we've done a great job of making that just easier for people. And to those who are EV owners that watch your guys' shows and come to you for information, please reach out to us at Chargeway if you have any questions at all. we love talking to everybody that's an EV driver because we are drivers. And moreover, again, as Patrick, as you said, if you haven't downloaded Chargeway yet, give it a shot. I think that what we discussed, for those who need to see what we've built in a way that makes them go have that aha moment, yeah, I think they'll see it. So I hope people enjoy using it, and if they have any questions, they can reach out to us.
Yeah, and even if they don't like it, download it, take a look at it, and then share it with that like person that's considering an EV or that just bought an EV that isn't as nerdy as you. So you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
But anyways, all right. Thanks again, and we appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate the time, Patrick. Thanks so much.
So as you can see, there is a lot to Chargeway. So we're going to go over this demo. I'm going to pop up the screen recording so that you can follow along and I can show you some of this stuff. But it's fairly intuitive, fairly easy to use. When you open it up, I'm not going to show you like how it would open up for me right now because it would come to where we're at. We don't want to give away our friend's location. But basically you have a map that's showing all of the charging stations in your area. And of course it's remembering my last filters and stuff. So right now I have it showing those green and red charging stations because I have our car, Lucifer Tucifer, aka a 2022 Mustang Mach-E GT with a NACS adapter. So that's why it's showing the green and the red in this map. And then as we talked about, you know, in the interview, like if I go in, I can just tap on any of these and get more information. So like here's a Tesla supercharger. It's telling me that it's online. It would probably take me 40 minutes to charge using this charging station to go from 10% to 80%. And that there's 9 to 12 available. And I can do, you know, do stuff like tap on it and see which ones are available so that if I were pulling in, as we were saying, like if it was 8 stalls and 4 of the 8 stalls are open, if the people are spaced out at a Tesla supercharger, it could mean that I can't charge because of the way we have to park with our Mach-E to get access on some of the stations, mostly the version 3. But then I can go back and also look at like amenities. Let me tap on that. I don't know if there's amenities at this one, but there's like a Starbucks less than a couple hundred feet away, Fairview Shopping Plaza. So really neat to have that information there, quick and easily available. Let's see, there are photos here. So if I tap on the photo, there's one photo. That's one station. If I go visit, I'll probably add a photo. And there's probably not a review on this one. Yeah, there's. I've noticed that a lot of the Tesla superchargers don't have reviews. There's, I don't think, as many Tesla users using this app right now. But like if we go over to, there's like an Electrify America. It says 4 are available. And there's some reviews. So if I tap, I can look at the photos. And as I was saying in the interview, it's sort of nice because I can see like what it looks like at night with that famous green glow from Electrify America. But I could also go down here and look at the actual reviews. And let's see, this was like a couple of years ago, so there no updated reviews, but it was like 2 chargers were offline. So I could read stuff like that. But I can also go in again, look at amenities, see what's around. And what I sort of like is like they're also pulling in if the business is open or closed. So like we can see like Home Depot is open right now. You can, of course, you just tap, write your review. You can report an issue if you notice, like if the address is wrong or something like that. You can report that to Chargeway so that they can update that. Let's see, we'll go in. If I tap here, I can take a photo or choose an existing photo. That's how I would add a photo to this location. But yeah, pretty quick and easy overview of like how you can like just look at stations in your area. This Electrify America has all of those green 7s. So I can actually see it's up to 350 kilowatts there. Again, if you have an EV, you probably know that, you know, like I can't get 350 kilowatts on my Mach-E. I can only get up to about 160. It's rated for 150, but we can get over like 160, 166. But that up to means like you're not going to get that, you're not going to get that. Even if your car could get 350 kilowatts, depending on temperature, state of charge, those type of things, it's up to 350 kilowatts. So pretty cool station overviews. But going back to what I like really the most about Chargeway is just like being able to look at the map and then going in and taking a look at the filters and say, like, if I'm on a road trip, I don't really want those slower chargers for the Mach-E. I probably want only the 6 and the 7s. And then if I do that, yes, we may lose some of the dots on the map, but it means, I'm not going to stop at those slower stations. It's going to be take longer for me to charge. But if you're curious, like, and this is something that I thought was really neat about the app. So like if I go in and look at, like, we'll just look at a Tesla supercharger. If I look at that, it says they go from 10 to 80%. It's going to take about 40 minutes. But then let's see, we'll go over here to a 6. And if I look at that, it's still saying about 40 minutes. And that's because the faster speed doesn't really help out the Mach-E. So a 6 or a 7 is going to be about the same. But then if I go over here to a 5 and look at that, it's like, okay, now it's 1 hour and 30 minutes. So I don't need to look and calculate, well, if it's a 75 kilowatt, or this one's 62 kilowatts, I don't have to calculate like how long that'll take. They're doing that estimation for me and saying, like, it's going to take 1.5 hours if I use that charger instead of the one that was nearby that's a lot faster. It would be about 40 minutes. So makes it very simple and easy to figure out those things. Of course, all of that is based off of my car and what it's doing at the current time. So as you can see down here, we have Lucifer Tucifer added in. So I can look at that. And I'll show you how to add a vehicle real quick. But before I do that, just with our car, like, I can set the battery percentage of like what I'm going to be coming into the station at. So coming in at like 10%, it'll give me my estimate of how long it'll take to get to 80%. And the same thing, I can drag that around and change that to 90%, 100%, 60% or whatever. And then it also, like with the plug types, is showing me the plug types that I can use natively, which is the J1772 up to a 2 and CCS up to 6. But again, I can use the 7. It even gives me a little bit of information on my battery. So we have a 91 kilowatt hour usable battery and a 400 volt system. If I want to edit the vehicle, I can change the name, I can change the color, and change the range. The Mach-E GT Performance Edition from 2022 is rated at 260. If I decided, like, I got some new tires, the tires are improving my efficiency, I could increase that. If they're decreasing my efficiency, I could decrease that. Excuse me. If I wanted to change vehicles, so we have some other vehicles in our virtual garage here, like we borrowed a Lightning one time, so I added that one in there, our Equinox, and then I was giving some of the examples, like with the Equinox. So then you can add that very quickly and easily in here, and just swap back and forth. So if you have multiple EVs in your household, it's very easy to swap back and forth. If you needed to add a vehicle, it's very easy to just add, and you basically put a year, make, and model, and then adjust from there. So super easy to add a vehicle in and then just sort of go about and start using it. And like, if you notice, when I switched from our car to the Chevy Bolt, I didn't mark that I had an adapter available. But if I go over here, I can go to the Equinox, which is our Equinox. And do I have the adapter? I didn't have the adapter. So let me just show you how easy this is. So this is what I think is something that is really neat and very cool with Chargeway, is it's very easy to add the adapter, and it's also very clear which adapter you're adding. So if I want to add the DC fast charger adapter, it all of a sudden will now start showing me those 3 to 7 red charging stations. But then if I added the 1 and the 2, that's the AC Tesla adapter. Now all of a sudden it will show me those. But let's just say I have that fast charging adapter. Then I go back over here, it'll update. Now I'm seeing the Tesla superchargers. Going back in here, the other thing that we can filter out on is based on charging stations. We can get into this in the interview, but that's something that I like to do sometimes. Sometimes just because I'm making a video, I'm like looking for Iona networks that I can go and film a video at. They just opened one in Vista, California. So I saw that pop up. So now I know that I can go there. But there could be other things like, if you have charging credit on Electrify America, you could say like deselect all and we just want to use Electrify America. If we only, basically are going on a road trip and we prefer to use just Tesla, you can literally just select just a Tesla network. Or if you like Tesla and Electrify America, you can select which ones that you want and then come back over here and you see that the network locations that are shown on the map vastly changes and very quickly based off of those filters. Let me go ahead and turn that all back on because I'll forget that and wonder why I can't see any charging stations when I go back into it. But, there may be a number of reasons. You could be like in Southern California. I'll just go ahead and say it looks like EVgo is a bit more expensive than like the Tesla superchargers. So I may want to deselect that to make sure I'm like saving money. But to me, it's just easier to show them all and then just sort of decide on a case-by-case basis. Speaking of cost, you can go in and let's see, like on the Tesla supercharger over here, if you tap on that, you scroll down to the bottom, it'll give you some pricing information, including like if there's any congestion fees or anything like that, or idle fees. It also gives you a little bit other information. There are very few charging stations that aren't open 24/7, but you can always go down and check and just verify that it is available 24/7. There's a couple of like ones that are like at parking garages. Don't normally have to worry about that. Now, the other thing that we did talk about was doing like the road trips in Chargeway. I think they're fairly easy. I'm going to change this to say we're going from Oceanside, California to Las Vegas, because I mentioned that one several times and we've done it a lot. This one, okay, we're saying with our Equinox, we're going to change it and say we don't need to do round trip. We're going to say we're going to depart at 100% battery, 70 degrees. Actually, let's adjust that down. It's winter, so it's chilly here. It's now 65. Average speed is 65. Let's crank that up to 70. Speed limit's about 70 the whole way. By doing that, I'm being a little bit pessimistic that I'm going to actually do 70 miles an hour the whole way. Pessimistic with my range, because the faster you go in an EV, the less your range is. So this will help me out. And like, if you notice, if I say, we'll just go a little extreme, we'll say like if I did 55 miles an hour, it's all of a sudden my range is up to 342 miles. But let's say we're doing 70. So my range drops back down to 266 miles. But if I say continue, and I forget this is in the Equinox, which has rated 319 miles of range. So it's giving me a couple of route options, the black one or the white one. The white one is the one that everybody goes. That's basically going up I-15. I hit use the selected route, and it's saying I need to make one stop for 20 minutes. It's overall 5 hours and 32 minutes, and it's having me stop, and I can actually go down and look and see that it's making me, or telling me to stop at Yermo, California supercharger. And one of the other features that I didn't mention, but I think is really cool, is like if I tap on the route icon, all of a sudden you can see it's showing me all of the chargers that are fairly convenient to my route. So I can look at that and go like, okay, there's where it wants me to stop. If I miss that one, where's the next charging station? Sorry about that. The lights are flickering. So the next charging station is quite a bit far away. So looking at that, if I'm going from Oceanside to Las Vegas, I might look at it and go like, if I'm cutting it close, like I definitely don't want to miss that station because then there's nothing beyond that. But like if I'm coming from Vegas and going the other direction and it was telling me to stop there, I could see like, well, there's several stations just past that. So if I'm doing a little bit better on efficiency and I want to pass that station, I got a lot of other options. But I think that's really cool. I think it's one of the only apps that does this and shows not only programming the route and where you should stop, but also showing like other options around your route. Really fantastic to have that there, but very quick and very easy. And I don't want to go too long into this demo because I think it's all really quick and easy. Let me get over to the The other thing that we mentioned is the promo section. So I'll show you how to get to that. So if I just look at our car, and all of a sudden there's a promo section. So if I tap on that, there's A2Z, as we mentioned. And by the way, they have a 10% discount in the app. We also have some discounts of, I think ours is maybe 5% or 10%, but we also get some affiliate money through that. They probably do as well. So check the description or go use their promo section if you need an adapter. If you want the one from A2Z, we also have some links to Lectron, which I think I can have those pop up right now. If not, it'll be down in the description. As of today, it's early October. I would only recommend the A2Z or the Lectron or one from your manufacturer. Don't just go off of Amazon and get whatever cheap one you can find. A2Z or Lectron. Amphenol is getting close to releasing theirs. They've had issues because of the tariffs creating some issues getting things set up. If they have theirs out, that would be the third one that I would recommend. But A2Z or Lectron, nobody else. So yeah, that's really all that we needed to do for a quick and easy demo. I don't want to go into like all the details. The best thing to do, just go download the Chargeway app, add your vehicle, maybe add the vehicle that you're thinking about buying, and just play around with it. And what I use it a lot for, if nothing else, is like we're just getting ready to take, we're getting ready to do that road trip from Oceanside up to the San Francisco Bay Area. It made it really easy to program in the route and then just sort of look around and see what other options that I would have, so that as I was driving up I-5 in California, I had in mind what charging stations were around and which ones I could skip and which ones were by food. I love having the amenities. That just makes it really nice and easy. So it's just great to sit there like while you're on your phone on the couch watching TV, to try out charging stations. When you're actually out and about, it can also be very nice. Liv will, bring up Chargeway, and it makes it easy for her, like especially like in the LA area where there's so many stations, very quick and easy to go like, where are all the 6 or 7 stations? Where are the ones where we're gonna need our adapter? And just quickly find stations, as well as that real-time availability of the stations. So it's, we can sort of do some of this stuff again, like with the Ford Pass app or the Chevy app, but it's like this works for both cars. We can do the same thing with Electrify America or Tesla. This works with both networks, so that we can take a look at the status of both of those very quickly without hopping back and forth between apps. So if nothing else, it's free. It's worth a try. There is a Chargeway Plus, which we haven't even gotten into. That has some extra benefits. Go check that out if you're interested in learning what those benefits are. If you have any questions for me or for Matt that we can pass along and contact him, we plan on doing a follow-up video very, very soon. So quickly drop your questions, and when we get him back on the line, we'll ask those questions for you. And if you have any suggestions for improvements or anything like that, not to the charging stations, but for the app itself, I'm sure he'd be open to those discussions. As he said, he likes hearing that feedback. I know that when I reviewed the app, like they quickly responded to me and were just like, thanks for the feedback. So it's really cool that they're active in the community. If you don't know Matt Teske, like I said, I've known him for years. Mostly I've seen him at Electrify Expos. That's the EV festival that tours around the country. So I've seen him in San Francisco and Denver and Long Beach and basically all over the country. He's always at these events representing Chargeway, but also helping Electrify Expo out, doing like the EV myth busting stage. I forget what they call it, but it's something like that. So he's just a great person to have in the community, and it's really great to see somebody that cares so much about the transition to EVs be involved with the company that's doing exactly that. So anyways, I'm gonna let you guys go. Thank you guys so much for watching this entire video. Please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, share Chargeway app with them. Thank you to our YouTube members. As always, you guys are supporting us on a monthly basis. And a special thank you to our Patreon members whose names are scrolling across the bottom. The Unbridled, the Whisper, and the Engage members. You guys get a lot of special perks as well. Like you get to, if the Unbridled level, we do sometimes occasionally send out trinkets, but Appreciate all of you nonetheless for supporting us in this journey so that we can take trips like the one we're on now. We're here in New York for National Drive Electric Month. That's due to you guys and your financial support, as well as, again, just sharing and liking the video helps us out tremendously. And as Liv would say, just remember, whatever you drive, however you find chargers for your drive, enjoy the ride. Bye.